Let's wait for that to get rolling. I see Shalimar Perfumes just put a comment in there. Hello, everybody. Huge welcome. It's a little bit echoey in this part of the room, but hopefully you can hear me good and the sound's great. Look, we just wanted to catch up with you guys. There's not a lot I'm able to do, but I've got some announcements about what I am going to do and get some questions from you. There's a couple of good questions already that have just come in, and I'll address those in a moment. Michelle is here. Do you want to come and say hello, Michelle, just quickly? So Michelle's here with me. We're actually we stood today. So, you know, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Just stood up. I'm sat.
So we stood today, got my coffee, lovely Aussie coffee. It's actually Italian, but
in Australia.
In Australia. So I will address, if you have any questions today, just pop them in the live chat there, and Michelle and I will go through them during this live stream and answer them. But I wanted to also sort of update. I've obviously got the John O'Groats Land's End series, which I'm working on and off at the moment, because we've got some other projects we're trying to complete as well. But we haven't got a lot going on in Steve's Kitchen world or anything particularly going on between the two of us to share any exciting. We're just having a relax, as you know. I've said to you many times that we're really getting back home. It was all about just sort of chilling and doing nothing for a short while. And I'm sure you can appreciate that after such a long time away and always sort of being on tenterhooks. It's kind of nice to have not too much to have to think about. So is the sound good, everybody? Some comments, just say hello. If you're just in, say hello. If you're a regular, say hello so I can give you a hello back. If you see them, Michelle, give me a quick shout. Yeah. Where was I going? So I haven't got a lot of actual filming projects on the go at the moment. But what we noticed while we were away, while we were actually in Mexico, is that we have a whole series of touring through Europe that never made it to the Steve's Kitchen channel. They were never posted. I did post them briefly on another channel, and there's probably a good 20 or so videos, but they've never really got a proper airing. And I thought I might freshen those up and take you on a little journey through Europe pre-pandemic. So it's kind of like times were lighter, happier, fresher. And most of you, if not probably all of you, a handful of you may have seen them when I first released them, but I know that some of them have only had sort of 20, 30 views. So I'd like to polish those up and put them onto the channel. So that's a nice little series of touring around Europe from a couple of years back, where you'll be able to see our journey down to Sicilia in Sicily, when we spent 5 months a few Christmases back. So that series, I'm going to possibly work on a little intro for them, maybe a little sort of chat to you about it, or I might just put them up on this series, and so you get a nice sort of escapism from the winter that's encroaching in the southern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere? Northern hemisphere. We're going into summer. We're all good. Mind you, it's a bit cool today.
It is. Feral Lunch Lady said the sound and image is good.
Thank you.
And Cheryl says hi. And Shalimar's in.
Shalimar, Cheryl, how are you? So if anyone's in, if you're lurking, say hello. Always, we watch these videos. I know a lot of people will be in bed and asleep on the other side of the world, so I appreciate you can't watch it now. And you'll watch it later on. We'll comment with you there. And if you have some really sort of poignant questions, you can put them into the comments down below on this video later on, and maybe we can use them in an upcoming live stream.
We were talking about the seasons. Shalimar said, what's spring like in Oz as opposed to us in fall?
Okay, we'll do them in the order, but I'll do that question. In Melbourne, the spring is not dissimilar to springtime in parts of Europe, sort of Central Europe. I wouldn't say it's the same as in the UK. I think we already have a milder winter than in the United Kingdom and some parts of the US. But I probably liken it to maybe the springs that you'd get in the sort of mid states of the USA. So we have temperatures that still feel chilly. You know, they're still a little cool, but only by our standards. And so, as for example, today I think is about 15, 17 degrees Celsius. Quick check what that is on Fahrenheit. Maybe somebody can just pop it down for me in the chat. So 15, 17 degrees Celsius. We'd like it to be a little warmer. We'd like it to be around about the sort of early 20s.
15 is 59.
So 59 degrees. It's a bit cooler today and a little overcast, but yesterday was gorgeous. Here in the garden, we've got, you can't see it. Maybe I'll put a picture up on Instagram. Remind me, Michelle,
Yes,
picture up on Instagram of the beautiful wisteria that's coming out. So the wisteria is coming. You know the spring's coming. The bumblebees, they're like buzzing around the wisteria. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's all good from this point out, really. We're going to get a nice, long, warm summer and then a nice, cool, sort of modestly warm autumn. So come Christmas time, when you're all sort of wrapped up, and I say you because a lot of Aussies will be watching this as well, but a lot of you up there will be sort of wrapped up in your muffs and trying to keep warm. We'll be actually, you know, wiping our brows and being pretty warm. Now, I know if I'm standing that I'll be sort of jogging about a bit, and that I know that can irritate some people, mother, and it's just the way it is. I feel like standing today. So there was some questions quickly that came through whilst I was setting up the live stream. And what was the first one there, Michelle, from Feral Lunch Lady?
You said COVID restrictions in your area. Any regrets about being there at this time?
So COVID restrictions in our area. Any regrets for coming back basically to Australia? That's a two-part answer, really. Yes and no. Obviously not. To be home, to have access to the family, sort of access. I mean, we can't see everybody because there's a 5 kilometer, just extended to 10 kilometer travel zone, which doesn't include any of our sort of family that live outside of this immediate area we're in now. So that's annoying, frustrating, a little. Angry might be too strong a word. A little bit angry, a bit disappointed in the political system here and what's happening. The media here is horrendous, as it is in almost every other part of the world. I mean, it would show anybody that complains or grumbles about what's happening gets instantly tarred as some sort of crazy conspiracy theorist, and the media is showing things. I think actually you're probably getting better media coverage of what's going on over here. If you were in Australia looking at mainstream media, you would be seeing that it's all thugs and crazy people out on the streets complaining and being violent. In reality, it's just a lot of people really annoyed and frustrated with this constant sort of taking away of their rights and liberties and the erosion of that. So it's annoying a little bit that we've come back. You know, the rest of the world that we just left behind has started to come out of that nonsense. And here in Australia, we're kind of going into the thick of it. It's very so angry, maybe annoyed at the complete and utter nonsense. And when you talk to people, a lot of people here, they are very much shaped and formed by what they see on your main news channels here. So and they get that drip fed pretty much constantly. So they have a very different view on the world than Michelle and I have, for example, who watch the mainstream media and a lot of the alternative media. So it's not as bad as you're seeing, though, Feral Lunch Lady. It's not as bad as you're seeing. You know, if I go out today, I don't have to wear a mask. I mean, if I go out for a walk in the sun, I can enjoy a walk. Michelle and I going out at least sort of every other day, not as often as we should, but yeah. So does that answer your question? Hopefully, but ask it if you want to ask more on that. Ask, because I'm happy to sort of talk about that.
So Darren R said, how's it going, big guy? Keep safe from Scotland.
G'day, Darren. How are you, mate?
Shalimar also on her.
I've been looking at Scotland. I've been editing looking at the edits of the, and we're still up in Scotland. So, yeah.
Shalimar says, hi guys, any outback camping this year, far away from the madding crowd?
Possibly, there are some plans. A lot will depend on how things pan out over the next few months. But Michelle and I are talking about doing something maybe in Australia in the next. It won't be very, very soon, but it'll be soonish. Within maybe the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be doing some exciting stuff. So that there are some plans, but nothing's concrete.
So Blake Horn says, are you going to ever do cooking tutorials again? For example, certain recipes, etc. Found you from Tennessee, USA 4 years ago. Glad you're doing well.
Thank you. Who was that?
That was Blake Horn.
Hi, Blake. We will be doing cooking recipes again. I haven't got a proper sort of kitchen studio set up at the moment to do the old sort of Steve's Kitchen stuff. I'd like to. We've talked for 2 or 3 years now. If this pandemic hadn't come along, things may be different even now. We've been kind of searching and thinking about getting another kitchen studio going and doing some got a few projects, but we haven't been able to travel to the places we anticipated traveling to. We haven't been able to settle down because of being locked into Turkey for months on end, and then having not having to, but choosing to walk John O'Groats to Land's End, and then the real difficulty of getting back to Australia. So we spent 6 months in Mexico. Excuse me, I'm drying out.
All of those were anticipating that it would be ended by the time we'd finished that particular scenario. So John O'Groats to Land's End, thought it would end.
Yeah.
Mexico, we thought it would end.
Yeah, each avenue we've gone down, we thought we'll do this for a few months, and then everything will be normal. We can go back. Or we do this. We had plans back in 2019. Fairly solid plans, and Michelle and I, for those of you that know us, know that when we have a plan, we often follow it through. We don't follow it through to the letter, but we don't sit on our hands. We get stuff done, but none of that happened. And I would love to get back in the kitchen and do some cooking. We've got so much to teach you from different parts of the world that we've been, from China, from India, from Mexico, from Turkey. Well, there's so much that we'd like to sort of share. But I'm just not in the right space at the moment to do it. So be patient. I know sometimes I'll say to you, there's 1,000 videos you can check, and I know that you'd like to see fresh content, and it will get there. We'll get there. But just, if I'd said to you end of 2019, be patient, next 6 months or so, we'll see what we can do, I'd have made myself a liar, because it didn't happen. So I'm not going to give you any sort of deadlines. But yes, getting back in the kitchen is one of the things we want to do. More traveling is one of the things we want to do, but we'll be doing it hopefully with a little more structure. So we'll see. What was the other question that came in while I was waiting? Was that to do with the weather?
Yeah, we've done that one. Darren says he's good. That's an answer to that question. And
good, Darren. It's good to hear, man. Anybody that's feeling good, hit the thumbs up. Let me know that you're feeling good. Hit the thumbs down if you're not feeling so good. Happy to have that as well. But I'm really happy to know that you guys are doing okay, because I know it's been a tough couple of years.
Blake Horn says, just don't stop. Your friends from abroad are patiently waiting. Take your time, but just never quit.
No, we won't quit. We won't quit. There's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I want to pad out. It says pad out. Something sounds so sort of superficial, doesn't it? But I want to expand the bread making series that I did some time ago, because Michelle and I used to do a lot of bread baking. I particularly did a lot of bread baking, and I love teaching people about bread making. So we'll probably do more on that. I want to do more on the Mexican food that we've sort of. If you haven't checked out already, we did I think a really good video on the masa flour from Mexico, and the mole as well. So I've got a lot more I'd like to do on that. Now, as I was saying at the beginning of the stream, some of you might not have been here. We filmed a few years ago a journey through Europe, and I didn't put it on this channel. I never put it up on Steve's Kitchen. So some of those videos have only got sort of 40, 50 views. I'm not going to publish them now and sort of say to you guys, check them out. But what I will say is they're quite a nice series. So what I'm going to do over the next, there's about maybe 20, 25 videos, and I'm going to repackage those and put them up on this channel because I think they're kind of good. And when I was watching them, I was feeling, oh, this is nice. You know, it reminded me of how nice things were. And I thought, well, nobody saw these because at the time we were still doing a lot of cooking videos. You might remember when we were in Italy, we were doing cooking series and pasta making, all sorts of things were still going on. And I didn't really want to muddy the waters with the travel videos so much. So we never used to put all of our travel videos up on Steve's Kitchen. So I'm going to do that. Some of you may have seen them because some of you are real staunch followers. You might have seen them, but I can tell you some of those videos have got barely sort of 30, 40 views. So I know they haven't been watched by the majority of people. So I'm going to put that series up on this channel. And so look out for that over the next coming couple of weeks. I'll start doing that series. And we've also got an inordinate amount of videos we've taken over the last 2 years that we just haven't edited yet. And one of the reasons we stopped doing it was because of this damned, it just felt wrong. But now I'm over it. I'm over caring about what other people think about what's going on in the world. We're just trying to live our lives, enjoy lives to the fullest, as you guys should be doing as well. Stop listening to the mainstream media. Stop listening to the government. Get on and enjoy your lives.
Jack Tran said, this is Jack from Montreal. I'm in my late 30s. I've been following you for years. So glad to see you are both doing well.
Jack, how are you, mate? That's great. So you've been following us for a little, probably from the cooking date, I'm guessing. But where was he from, Jack? Montreal. So I know things are a bit rocky up in Canada as well, but and you'll be going into your winter, which can be beautiful as it comes. But I know a few friends of mine that live up in that area say winter is great, but it starts to play on you after a few months. They can be quite long. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of 2021. We will try and do some stuff for Christmas. I think we'll try and do some Christmas stuff, but we've got a few things planned. So yeah, good on you, Jack.
Noah Hunt says, hi Steve and Michelle, just got in from the shops, hope I'm not late, hope all is well.
No, you're not late. Well, you are late, but you're not late. You can always reverse. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to try and do sort of moonwalking backwards or sort of reverse talking. I might sound demonic.
And Shalimar said, when you were talking about the governments and things, said, same here, and we just went through an election that cost the taxpayers dearly when the dollar could be better spent.
Yes, we could do with an election, I think. There's some jelly heads that need getting rid of, but everywhere. But most of you know my views on this stuff. I'm not going to bang on about it because at the end of the day, look, give yourself a sort of a different perspective on the day. Stop listening to the mainstream media. Get up, have a smile. If you've got 2 feet and a heartbeat, as my friend used to say up in Queensland, it's all good. It's all good.
So I just put up the link for the massive video.
Okay, yeah, do check out that. So has anyone commented on the European videos? Are they happy to see those? Did many of you actually see those videos when I first launched them, or have many of you not even heard of the series? Did any of you see the stuff we were doing on the road? I suspect not. A lot of you. There'll be some that did, but it's one of the best kept secrets. I was surprised. I said to Michelle the other day, I said, I think I got, you get one of those prompts from Google. Oh, this was what you were doing in, 2018, 2019 or whatever. And you think, oh yeah, that was good. So I just went to have a look at the video and I thought, oh, nobody's seen this. It's kind of 50 views, and it was a really good video. In my mind, it was fun. It was uplifting, you know.
Blake Horn says, commenting on the European videos, haven't seen them, but I would love to. And Noah Hunt said, I've not heard of the series, but I will look forward to seeing it soon.
Good. So I'll be working on those. There's probably another 20 or 30 videos, not to mention John O'Groats to Land's End, which is a mammoth project, but I got another 20 or 30 videos that we haven't yet edited and put up. Had a bit of a catastrophe, had a hard drive die on me, which was one that I really need. So let me just explain to you. I don't know if any of you are techies. I mean, I technically could consider myself to be a bit of a techie because I do know what I'm doing with I've got to go down here. I'm dropping stuff.
He's dropping stuff.
So I had one of these 4 terabyte drives. You see it cracked open. Unfortunately, that was my heavy-handedness. But this drive died, and sadly, it's got a lot of our recent videoing on it. So I've got to get it back. I have to get it back.
Luckily, it hasn't got the John O'Groats to Land's End.
No, it hasn't, and that's double backed up anyway. So, but there's some good stuff on here that I do need to get back, and I may have to do, for those of you that don't know, a little bit of platter work, on it. So, which I haven't done for a long time, and I've not really got the gear to do it, but it's probably the only thing I can do. So I need a donor drive, which I'm going to have to completely wreck, well, not wreck, but write it off and try and get that data back. For those of you who don't know, I used to do a lot of computer data recovery and things back in the day in a former life.
Blake Horn says, I want to see you attempt or succeed at Southern American cooking, biscuits and gravy, red eye gravy, etc.
Biscuits and gravy, Michelle, that reminds me.
Takes us back.
I think I've made biscuits and gravy. I'm not sure if I've done it on the channel, but this would be a long time ago if I did, because when we first went to the US and we were sort of having grits for breakfast and biscuits and gravy for breakfast, the old white gravy, you know, it was like so alien to us, and we're looking at it and thinking, this is almost as strange as going to Asia and having noodles for breakfast, you know. But it grows on you after a time, and I have got a whole set of notes in my notebook that about sort of simple Southern cooking, and I think that's really simple Southern sort of Bible Belt cooking. You know, biscuits and gravy. I have loosely a friend that I knew would be in Louisiana, I think, who pretty much had biscuits and gravy for breakfast for his entire life, and he was in his sort of late 50s. But yeah, interesting. Soul food always appeals, you know, and people love soul food, you know, fried chicken and that sort of stuff. We've studied a lot of that. We could make a whole series on it, but I think probably I'd like to go back to the US and do a bit more studying, a bit more, learn out a little bit more, because there are a lot of real sort of wholesome staples, you know, your cornbreads and your collard greens and things. A lot of sort of staples, simple foods that I don't know them well enough, and we don't often have the ingredients. Although for biscuits and gravies, that's pretty simple. So, was that a question? I don't know. I'm off.
Blake has also said, I would be ecstatic to share some Southern recipes with you if you'd be interested. I'm 27 and 4th generation home chef.
Oh, Blake, yeah, I'd love to, man. You can always email me at social media at Steve's Kitchen, Steve's STEVES-kitchen.com. You can always email me there and send some info, but don't think I'll be rushing on to that. It may be a year or two before I get around to it, but I'm always loving to read through how home cooks particularly fascinate me, rather than sort of, you know, modern day celebrity chefs, which often, you know, are barking up the wrong tree when it comes to a lot of the stuff they do. It's the old home cooking that really fascinates us. So yeah, send some stuff over if you wish.
So Shalimar said, I started back a couple of years ago watching your cooking vids, then your India and beyond.
Yeah. You know, we started traveling 6 years ago. I think it was when we set off to, and I look a lot younger then as well, which is a bit of a bummer when I look at those old videos and think, oh dear man, I've aged. But you know, we set off traveling in Thailand. There's some really cool videos. If you haven't checked out the early travel videos, particularly the Meklong railway video where the train, maybe you could share that link up there, Michelle.
Okay.
It's fascinating to watch. And it was when I was trying to do my sort of Alan Wicker type presentation. So yeah, you'll see that there's a train that actually goes right through the center of a market, and literally right through the center of a market. Lovely video. If you haven't checked that one out, Michelle will pop the link down there, and you can take a look at it. Brilliant. But they were the early days. And in the early days, we were still doing a lot of cooking. We were cooking. We were probably putting cooking videos up still every week at the very least. So we were cooking up in the hills in Thailand. There's some beautiful mango sticky rice recipes, and there was sankeye pho tong. There's a stuffed custard dish, another famous Thai dish. We've got so there are recipes there. If you from our travels, there are still recipes out there. Sankeye pho tong. You've got to be careful how you say it, but sankeye pho tong. It's pumpkin custard recipe, and there's a lot of but the problem, what we found after some time of traveling, we were getting to the stage where we were just not enjoying the traveling because we were constantly having to do the cooking. Most of you know this. You've heard me talk about it before, and it's why we stopped doing it. Mainly to try and concentrate on enjoying the traveling. But there's a whole series up there. You can check that out. But it surprised me when I go back, because I was slimmer, because Mexico did me in with a little bit of excessive eating. So this is one of the problems when you travel. We'd love to go back, and there are plans for us to return to Japan and learn a bit more about Japanese culture and travel. That's something that we had planned for last year that didn't happen. But at the moment, it'll be, I know Michelle's busily going for the links in the back. Check out this railway. Put it on your list of videos to watch. And marvel in the professional manner at which I present the show. Wasn't that good, but it was. But the video is really, really fascinating, and I don't know. Those sort of places won't be around forever, if indeed they're even still around. I mean, they probably died a death with all the nonsense that's been going on the last couple of years. So we'll see.
There we go. Found it.
There you go. Now, if you've got any questions, Michelle will get back. She's busy.
It took me a while to find out. I couldn't spell.
Ben's not around anymore. Ben would have done this.
He would have done.
Ben's sulking with me at the moment.
Yeah.
He's having I hope he's good. Ben, if you come in, man, if you're watching, Michelle, we always hope you well.
Yeah.
Send a little bit of love Ben's way.
Mummy T says, hello guys, finally you got back to your home, you've got some rest. How do you feel about being back home? Mummy T? Yep.
We're ecstatic to be back home. Disappointed that we can't just travel around and do what we want here because of the lockdowns and things, and our crazy power hungry government. That's let's not talk about it.
So Shalimar says that, because I'm going back on a few questions now. It says chicken and dumplings, 2 types of dumplings, southern lights more of flat style and northern more of a baking powder dumpling.
Yeah, now we've had a lot of dumplings in the US, and that's another fascinating similarity. I mean, the dumplings definitely come from British culture. That's got to be. I mean, lovely fluffy dumplings, made perfectly well, whether you make them with lard or just simple flour and baking powder dumplings. They're good, and they soak up all the goodness. And this is the time of year probably to be getting into that sort of cooking, isn't it? Because a lovely thick sort of wholesome stew, whether it be vegetable or maybe something with the bones in, sort of, a lovely, maybe, I'm tempted to think sort of like lamb's head stew or something with dumplings. Oh, really good, but not everybody likes that. But they're the cuts. It's the hocks and things that make all the great flavors. So dumplings are good.
Matthew Sheriff Growing Food says, good day.
Good
I
day.
will be making masa with homegrown corn thanks to your masa video.
Matthew, I'm so pleased. I really love masa flour. It's not something we have in the West. We don't tend to make, in the late sort of 1800s, but actually more towards the early 1900s, there was a whole revolution of wheat production, mainly in the USA, but it very quickly came over into the Europeans, the Anglo-European areas, I would probably say, because the Italians didn't actually adopt it quite so wholesomely or unwholesomely. But there was a massive drive towards cheap grains, the new wheat crops that were sort of sturdy and hardy and grew more crops per acre became really prevalent, and they pushed themselves out all across the world, even into Asia, where they were more familiar with rice crops. But it never really skipped a beat and went down into South America. I mean, the Mexicans howled fast because they loved their corn flours, and when we talk about corn flour, not the pretty little blue, is it a blue flour?
It is
blue?
blue flour.
Not the pretty little flour, but corn flour, or I think Americans call it corn starch. I'm not talking about that, but they make masa from ground up nixtamalized corn, and I've done a whole video on it. So thank you. Who was it that said that, Michelle?
That was Matthew. Sheriff.
So thank you, Matthew. And it is fascinating, and the flavors are so distinct. I mean, when you talk about masa harina or fresh, particularly fresh masa, the flavors are really distinct. So when you start making breads with that, or cooking with it, or using it in elote, atole. I always get elote and atole muddled up. One's sort of corn, cut off the cob, and one's actually like also corn, but a drink.
Nice drink.
Yeah. So yes, it's fascinating. So I really fell in love with the whole concept of masa flour when I was in Mexico. Now I have a lot of friends who come from South America, so all the way down into Chile and Argentina and Colombia and places like that, and I know they all use very similar process of nixtamalizing and making, or hominy as the Americans would have called it, or British, I guess, it originally. So it's fascinating. If you haven't checked that out, just go into YouTube, type Steve's Kitchen nixtamalized corn.
And if you put the link, just go up a bit in the comments, you'll find it.
Yeah. It's interesting. Now here, when I made that in Australia, it was really hard to find corn kernels, dried corn kernels, because you can buy little packets for popcorn and things but it's not easy to buy. You can buy it, but it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Good value for money. It's not like you buy a little sort of sachet for sort of $50 or something stupid like that. And that's not the idea of nixtamalized corn, is it's cheap. But what you can do in Australia, and you can do this in other parts of the world as well, is you can buy corn that's meant for animal feed. And if you get a good supplier, and you can look for organic, or you can look for, whatever, you can buy often big sacks, 50 kilos sacks of corn for next to nothing. And it's meant for chicken feed, but it's exactly the same corn. It's not easy to get blue corns and white corns and heirloom corns here in any bulk, but you can turn those corns into the most delicious nixtamalized corn. It's absolutely the best way to do it, and it really enriches your understanding of Mexican culture, Mayan culture, understanding of how the Aztecs and the Mayans would have made their corns, and they would have stumbled across it serendipitously through adding corn to burnt charcoal at one time, I'm guessing, soaking it in water with charcoal. Anyway, that could get complex. Not everyone's interested in it.
Mason Pin says, after the lockdown, can you do a live stream around your neighborhood or city and show us some of the restaurants or supermarkets there?
Yes, I can. Now, this phone, this Samsung Galaxy Note 9, which I probably bought about 3 years ago, it's been good to me. It took a hard time walking. It didn't walk itself because you can see it hasn't got any little legs, but it had a hard time walking from John O'Groats to Land's End. And then it was suddenly taken from the coldest, wettest part of the world to the hottest, driest part of, most humid. It went from there to, oh, that's a nice little picture. So it went from one extreme to the next extreme, and it just started to pack up on me. And now what happens, although it's working, funny enough, when we got back to Australia, it sort of said, g'day, mate, we're back in Australia. And it decided to work again. But it still keeps cutting off. I can be on a call and it just switches off. And I think it's taken some heat damage to the boards inside. I could fix it, but it's really hard work and it could get expensive. And I haven't got the tools to do it. I could, if I was in Asia, I'd get that fixed. In Australia, it costs just an arm and a leg to get it fixed. So I'm in the market for a new phone. I am thinking of going with Apple. I'm not a big Apple fanboy. I've never been. But I'm thinking maybe of jumping into Apple because I'm a little bit disappointed because I've had a couple of problems recently with Samsungs. We'll see. So by the way, the reason if I get a new phone, I can rely on it a bit more. We can go out. I might get a little gimbal so I can hold the phone steady and we can go out and show you around some parts of the neighborhood where we maybe some little coastal walks along the coast here in Melbourne. So for sure. And show you some of the flora and fauna. It's beautiful around this part of the world. So yes.
Namritan Numbong says, I'm
just saw Mona in. Just say, hey Mona, how are you, sweetheart?
He's from Nagaland State, Indian country. He says hello.
Who's that?
That was Namritan Numbong.
Namritan Nabong. Yeah.
Shalama says, can you give me ideas on steamer foods? Just got a B&D 3-tier electric steamer.
Steamers are great. I mean, they're great for sort of. I would use steamers for vegetables, or you can use them for. I've got a little video I think for doing a char siu bao, which is like a steamed Chinese style bun, and I think there's a video on my channel to show you. They're beautiful little buns. They're almost like a dumpling we talked about before, but a slightly sweet dumpling. You can steam dumplings, by the way. You don't have to put them into a stew. You can steam them, put them on a little square of parchment paper or non-stick paper, and you can pop them in the steamer and they just steam up beautifully. But with the char sius, you can actually it's a fairly simple rice flour based dough that you'll make, and they're not expensive to buy, but they're good fun to make. And you can pop those. You can put a bit like onigiri. You can put different flavors inside them and just steam them, and they puff up. They make great. So check out there's a lot of checkouts to do today, but the char siu bao recipe. Char siu means barbecue pork, so I put barbecue pork. Bao means bun, and that is one thing you can do. Obviously, steaming your vegetables, which is super. We're having a lot of steam. We're just using a big pot with a little steaming basket on the top. And sometimes we put some kale in the bottom and you cook the kale, which takes a little longer, and then put some maybe cauliflower. I love cauliflower. Big fan of cauliflower. So at the moment, there's good cauliflower, but your cauliflower and your, what else have we been having, Michelle? Some beans.
Kale.
I said kale.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading.
Pay attention.
Sorry.
She's not paying attention. You know she's not listening when she repeats what I just said.
But Blake Horn says, I can't talk to my favourite Australians without mentioning snakes. As an American pet snake breeder, I have to ask you if you have any interesting snake stories from Oz.
I wish I did. I could make some up. But No, I mean, to be honest, as you know, if you say you're a snake breeder, most snakes are very wary of people. So you're not. Although people are really friends of mine say, "Oh, I'm not coming to Australia. You've got snakes and spiders," and we do have a lot of venomous, non-venomous critters around that will do you some damage. But generally, if you're out when we toured around Australia and we went all the way across the Nullarbor, out up to Broome, and all the way across to Catherine, we went. We took 6 months to a year just touring around Australia. We never really had any snake encounters.
We didn't have a one.
No.
I think.
So.
The only snake encounter I can really remember was in Europe when our youngest son came across the paddock carrying a snake above his head.
I've got lots of. I could tell you snake stories from other parts of the world. We've had sort of cobras and pythons in the house, but these are when we lived in Sri Lanka. We had a python. When we lived in France, my young boy came in. He was holding a snake, sort of probably about. Maybe about 3. I'm doing it American for you. I'm doing it in feet. So it's probably about 3.5, 4 feet long snake. But it was just a regular grass snake. It wasn't anything particularly venomous. I mean, they can bite you a little bit. And he was walking up the garden saying, "Dad, look at this snake I found." So it's just what I'm saying there is they weren't particularly frightened. They're not frightened of snakes. So we had some snake stories. But in Australia, I've never really been troubled by snakes. There are some pretty wicked snakes out there, but unless you're living out in really rural parts of Australia and you've got a lot of sort of wood piles and probably big sheds and things, same as in the US, you're not going to get a lot of snakes. So I'm sorry not to give you any
so Gloria Patry
great
says,
stories.
"Oh wow, you're back home. I was just watching the Palma Volcano live feed and found this."
Oh, okay. So how's the La Palma volcano getting on?
Mary Cat says, "You look cute with your hair sticking up like that, like a little unicorn."
It's been like this long. I can't get it to stay down. So when I used to wake up like that, it was always stuck like that. So I decided to just leave it. Now it just stays there. It's permanently. If you try to push it down, it comes back up. So
Narina Tester says hi from Melbourne.
Hello from Melbourne. Good day. How are you? What part of Melbourne can you say?
Shalimar says there's a cornmeal dumpling that's got okra in it and you make a spicy fish and sauce over it. I think it's more West Indies. It's yummy.
Yeah. Was it Shalimar? Who had the steamer? That wasn't Shalimar, was it?
I think it might have been. Yes, it was Shalimar.
Let me have a quick look. See, there's some people Shalimar. I just see.
Marina's in, which
Pippin's in.
Hi.
Hi, Pippin.
Pippin Baker says, "Forgive me for mentioning this, but you're not Australians. You are English."
We're Australian, but Pippin, I am English, absolutely 100. I'm proud to be English, but we're Australian. I've lived in Australia more than I've ever lived in the United Kingdom. So well, I'm of English heritage for sure. But people tend to think, oh, they say, well, you're from England, but I've not really lived in England. So I can't call myself English any more than I can call myself sort of French. And we lived for, 4 or 5 years in France. So yes, I'm English, 100% proud of it, as are most Australians coming from European sort of heritage, unless they're originally from, Aboriginal Australian heritage. But most of them are from European heritage, but they're no more English than I. I have a connection with England in so much as my family heritage is English. But I do forgive you for saying it because I don't mind. It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all. I'd be as proud to say I was English as I would to say I was Australian. But we have Australian passports. I've got my kids are all Australian. My family all live here. I've lived in Australia longer than I've lived in probably any other country in the world. I've certainly lived in Australia longer than I have lived in your beautiful United Kingdom. Are you, Pippa? Are you from England? So
Petri says, hey.
I could say we're a bit about. I don't really care. I'm a person of the world. I'm as American as I am English, and I do sometimes feel American because I grew up on an American base with American kids playing softball as a kid, going to barbecues with my Yankee friends. Oh, don't call them Yankees, Steve. We were Americans are beautiful people and they're lovely, lovely. To me, I'm as at home around Americans. I'm as home around Japanese. I'm as home around Europeans, and I'm as home around Chinese and Indians as I am anywhere else in the world. So I think I'm more global. If you want to pop me into a box, of being English, that you're welcome to do it, but I'll never stay in that box because I'm always sort of, be like trying to keep a spider in a glass jar. I'm always trying to get out.
Kalinka K said, my Polish family lives in Australia, Australian Poles.
They're Polish. My true Aussie mates that have been here generations would say, you're not, because they're all bloody racists anyway. And they know it, and I love them to death. They know who I'm talking about, but they're good people, salt of the earth people. But they would say the same. They would say, you're not true Aussie. But then what can you say? I mean, what can you do? Where do you belong? This is if you did that in another country, say if you went to England, for example, from India or from another part of the world, and you were to say, well, I'm English, and people were to say to you, you're not English, you're Indian, you'd get, you'd have handcuffs and be taken off to sort of the law courts. But not here in Australia. We're much more tolerant. We let people say what they want. So you're welcome to your views. Pippin, how are you? And where are you from? Are you Australian or are you British or...
Petri says, hey, Steve and Michelle, just happened to see you live, but I have to go to work in the morning, so I won't be on long.
Petri, how are you, sweetheart? Lovely to have you in. Hope you're doing really well. I'm just going to have a quick flick through the names and see if there's anyone I've missed. Any hellos?
Well, I'm just going to say, Mummy T said she was stuck in Turkey for a while when there was first lockdowns.
I was, and that makes me Turkish.
What do you remember from Turkey? How was their food?
Turkish food was fantastic. Their breakfasts are rubbish.
No, their breakfast was nice for 1 or 2 days.
Anyone from Turkey in? I love the Turkish breakfast, but not every day. We stayed in a place and we had, we woke up in the morning. Here's a little anecdotal story. So we woke up in the morning, the first day we got there, we just come from India and we've been heavy doses and heavy Indian sort of breakfasts. What was it? Idlis and dosas and curry for breakfast. And we got there. We woke up in the morning, and the hotel we were staying in served this beautiful salad. It was just like lettuce and olives and a tiny bit of bread and some tomatoes, and it was fresh. It was so fresh. We stayed at that place for a couple of weeks, I think it was, and every morning they gave us the same breakfast. It was just like lettuce and olives, and the first morning we went, oh, this is gorgeous, so light and refreshing and lovely, and the next day it was like, oh no, that's lovely. And then after about a week we were going, I wouldn't mind a bowl of cornflakes or something, And then by the second week I was thinking, God, I could do with an idli or a samosa. If I eat much more of this, I'm going to go sort of teeth and start going, yeah, what's up, duck? I was really struggling. So that's not a very good way to introduce your comment about Turkey. But once we got into our own autonomous space, when we got out of the hotel where they were giving us sort of rabbit food every morning for breakfast, and we started enjoying the P-days and how, I'm getting fat again, but starting eating proper local food, it was delicious. And then occasionally you could have that salad for breakfast, and it was really nice, but not every day. So superfood. I'd love to go back to Turkey and study more food. Well, the problem is when we were there, it was all locked down. Everything was awkward. But if I sort of close my eyes and go through a day, and I can't do it while I'm with you, of what we were eating over there, the food was really great. And the produce, the fresh produce in Istanbul, for a city as big as it is, the fresh produce. And we talked, I think, in the last live stream about the fish sandwiches. So
that's all good. But Denver says hello from Adelaide.
G'day, Denver.
Shalimar says, so far just steamed fish with lemon slices and herbs and green beans. That's talking about the steamer.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the Lord is King stuff.
Just seeing those.
So I might just ask you not to do those sort of, they just take up a lot of space, and they just a little bit. But anyway, welcome.
Petri said, just came back from 4-day holiday.
Oh, you lucky you. 4 days holiday.
And Neil B says, morning, Steve and Michelle. I've been following you since the Land's End walk and Mexico. Love listening to it while driving my truck around the UK. Cool.
Neil, beautiful, man. And Neil, we will be getting and finishing that Land's End to John O'Groats series, so you'll be able to get a bit more of that.
So Mona says, you're looking well, so glad to hear from you both.
Thanks, Mona. I have put a bit of weight on, so I don't feel 100% happy with my current, but that's life, isn't it? We're eating healthily now, and I've lost a lot since I got back home, so it's Rick's fault. Rick, if you ever get to Rick, well, I don't know if Rick would watch it this far through, but Rick, if you're watching this, I hope you started to lose weight, because Rick and I ate some good food. Rick and I and Michelle. Sorry, Michelle.
That's all right. No, I didn't eat any of that.
No,
I didn't eat there. That's
we ate some good food. There was just continuation of the nonsense I was eating in Mexico. Way too much heavy food. And now we're in control of our own destiny and eating healthier food. The weight's going down. I've lost about 4 or 5 kilos already, so it's going in the right direction. And eating really good food, by the way, eating very good food. Last night, I tend to cook most of the time. Probably 90% of the time, because I love cooking. And last night we had a lot of bits and pieces left in the fridge from sort of several meals. We had a little bit of meat left from some tacos that I'd done 2 or 3 days ago. We had a little bit of vegetables left over from the day before. And I'm talking about some cauliflower and some greens and things. There was some rice left over from another dish, and we keep all these little bits in little Chinese bowls that I pop in the fridge. Not that they have to be Chinese, but it does help, because they're very cosseting, and they look after your leftovers, those little Chinese bowls. So what I did last night was made a frittata. You could straight away, you're looking at all those leftovers, you think you can make a frittata. So you put a little bit of seasoning into a bowl with some more, into a frying pan, into a little skillet pan, ideally, because you want to pop it in the oven, and you fry everything up a bit like you do with Bubble and Squeak. You fry your vegetables and your meats, fry them all up with some, maybe you can add some onion. I don't tend to like onion particularly with egg. So fry them up, so you end up with a nice little pan. I've got a skillet that's about 9 inches in diameter. It's a good size, and it's oven proof. And then you whip some eggs up. In my case, I used 4 eggs. Whip them up, a little bit of cream in with the eggs as well, because we had some. And then just set that in the skillet, so it ends up like a nice big thick omelette type pancake. Sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top, pop that under the broiler or grill, pop it in the oven, and you end up with this lovely little pie that sets. And then you just cut that up and serve it with some potatoes or French fries or rice or whatever is, a little more salad. And that was pretty good, wasn't it, Michelle?
That was very good, yeah.
And I made it this time. I had a lot of fresh rosemary into it, which is nice. Unusual. Oh, and fried bacon. So
a couple of slices of bacon. Yeah,
has some fried bacon there as well. So if you want ideas for using over, you can use anything, apart from sort of Nutella pie and things like that. Yeah, but you could do that as well. Chuck it in, set it up, little frittata. That's a leftover food. It's really good. I've done that a couple of times. We've had a few interesting. We've eaten a lot of vegetables since we came back, because we're having access to nice veggie at the moment.
That's always good. Sally says, good morning, Steve and Michelle.
Sally, how are you, Sally?
Petri said that the holiday was just enough that I want to come back to work, but it was much needed. You guys are sounding and look a lot more cheerful. That makes me happy.
Beautiful. Well, we are good. We're reasonably good. That we've talked a bit in the earlier stages about what's irking us about the current situation. But as a rule, we're trying just to stay fairly positive. There's a window out over there, and I keep seeing somebody. There's somebody outside, and I saw them moving. So you see me sort of glancing off to the side. It's quite a long way away, but I keep seeing somebody move.
Shalaman said, my next door neighbour is Muslim. She showed me how to make dolmas from the grape leaves in my backyard.
Oh.
She sometimes brings falafel over, but I find them greasy, maybe because the oil is not hot.
It could be that she's using quite a fatty meat. If she's making falafel with meat, generally
It's chickpea.
Yeah,
but
they put lamb and do they put?
Not always. I
No?
don't know. I think it's probably more the oil's not hot.
What do we use with our falafel when we made them? Did we?
It was the chickpea and herbs.
Oh no, of course no. I'm thinking of the. Sorry, I'm thinking of the little meat. I get confused sometimes. But
Maria says that that sounds delicious. Talking about your frittata.
Yeah. If they are greasy, actually, that's a
sorry.
bit unusual, and it probably is. Maybe they're cooking. Maybe the oil isn't hot enough, and they're not getting a nice seal on the outside of the falafel.
It's soaking the oil.
What is that little meat? Not kofta. Is it kofta?
Kofta.
Yeah, I get sometimes. But it's because when I had that little moment where I sort of thought back to Turkey and all the stuff, there was all that food was going through my mind. There you go.
The Water Girl 49 says, play us a little happy song. Haven't heard you play in a very long time.
Little happy song.
It's got a thing now.
How do you mean? Oh, possibly the guitar in the
Yes.
background. That's my little guitar. I haven't played the guitar in. This is a nice little baby Taylor, and I haven't. It's not tuned, and it's had a broken wire.
I was going to say it's broken one there.
So I just put that on just to test whether it was. But no, I'm not gonna play it because it's probably out of tune at the moment. And look, I haven't had this out for a long time. All the wires have got a little bit rusty, but I put it there to remind myself to pick it up and have a play. Because when I'm traveling, I miss the guitar.
Water Girl says, okay, later. And Mona says, that sounds heavenly. Serenade us, please. Is that a tune, Mona?
It's a little out of tune. I don't want to. I'm not playing. No, I'm not playing.
Christine says, hello from San Diego.
Hey, Christine, how are you?
Petri says, I forgot you played.
That's a lovely guitar, by the way. That little. I used to travel with that when I first. I haven't had my hands on that for probably closer to 3 years. Nobody's played it, so the poor thing sat there sort of gathering dust.
Yeah, because the last time we set off, we actually didn't take a guitar or a musical instrument. But you came back with one.
I came back with one. I bought a ukulele.
Okay. Dwayne says, hello, Stephen Michelle.
Dwayne, how are you, mate?
Water Girl says, haha, we love you guys.
Happy birthday, Dwayne. For when your birthday comes.
George Copley says, gee, Steve, you have been away for 2 years, so just relax and get back into cooking. We won't pick your brains just yet.
Thank you. I can probably play something dire, Dwayne. I'm not sure we do Dire Straits.
Christine says, okay, thank you. How are you both doing?
We're good, Christine. We're good. And I hope you and all the others that are watching are good too. And those that watch later on, I hope you're all a lot better. Do you know what? Sometimes turn off your phones, turn off your TVs. If any of you are still doing, well, those pears look nice. Is that pears? I keep getting new food ideas coming up. So there's some cinnamon pears. There's some stewed pears that have been just stewed in a red wine with cinnamon and just straight away. That's going to be delicious. I serve that with a little bit of creme fraiche. Do you think, or ice cream?
And both.
Or both, yeah, both. Do you know what? I'd probably have that with a bit of custard, creme fraiche, and ice cream all together, hot, cold mixture. But you shouldn't. You should probably just have it with just a little bit of creme fraiche, or maybe a nice double cream, or a clotted cream would be nice as well. Yeah. Shall we see what comes up next? I'll probably get copyright claim because I've got. Okay, what's going to come up next? Now asparagus are actually in season at the moment. So there's a couple of asparagus with some poached eggs. Delicious. And asparagus, talking about steaming, I talked about the steaming basket. We were steaming asparagus just the other day. They steam really quickly. I'm not going to tell you the minutes. It is literally minutes to heat up. Just heating the asparagus through a little bit like you do when you do sweet corn. And then you can poach an egg like that.
Petrie says, what time is dinner? I might be a little late flying in from the US. You might be, particularly if you've got to try and get into Australia.
You would. You'd be like at least a couple of weeks late after you get off the plane because you have to go into quarantine. So yes, let's have a look. What's on? This is a bit grimy looking. Let's give that a quick polish. What's on the window next?
We're on the window next.
Look, a little bit of orange juice,
Oh, nice.
actually with.
Very nice.
Oh, look, egg and soldiers.
Ooh,
So a nice boiled egg with some slices of toast.
Think about that.
We could have egg and soldiers.
Good. So Dwayne said my birthday was already passed in July when you wished him happy birthday.
I was only teasing you. I'm wishing you for next year, Dwayne. And that way, if I forget I've already done it, you can say, so you never remember to wish me a happy birthday. I say, well, I think I did.
In September.
Yeah. And happy birthday, everybody else, for when your birthdays are coming up. I hope you have a lovely time. And I hope next year is the best year you've ever had.
There you go.
I wish that upon you with all sincerity, because I know it's been a tough year for some people.
Dwayne said I was taking photos of autumn leaves. They're going away fast.
Wow. And we're getting spring. Everything, all the buds are coming up. Everything that's been cut back from the winter and early springtime has started to bud. Some of it was cut back in the autumn, I think. So it's all starting to bud and come to life.
Dwayne also said asparagus is so good. It is.
Asparagus, yeah. Boop. What is that? I'm having to look backwards. Oh, it's fig on toast. It's fig on bruschetta, I think. The problem is with this, you see, if I try to open that up and see what it was, it's gone. Now I've just got chunks of chocolate. This is I've only had that screensaver on for about 8 hours, so it's all new to me. But that's lovely, isn't it? Some fresh figs. Just heated up very gently, just to sort of loosen them up with some honey, drizzle some honey on there, maybe a little bit of would you put rosemary? No, probably
No, it could be quite nice.
yeah, it could be quite nice. And that I think they were on a little bit of bruschetta, a little bit of dried toasted or like a Melba toast type thing, which is I probably would rather have that on a nice piece of crusty French bread than a piece of something, because probably it looks nice on the bruschetta, right? And you get out of the and it's going, that's dropping down the side. The honey you put on's running off because the bruschetta's cracked. Yeah, if you put that onto a nice little bit of good quality crusty bread, then when you drizzle the honey over it, that soaks into the bread, and when you bite it, it all sort of shapes around your mouth and comes off. Put it onto a bit of toast like that. It's going to look good for photographs, but as soon as you pick it up, you're going to be saying, right, get the fig off, put the toast over there, all the little bits of green rubbish that you put on there, eat the fig, and there's the toast. You can pop that in your coffee.
Anyway, by the time we finish photographing
it would be.
Mummy T says, oh, spring in Aussie. Wow, great.
Spring in Aussie. It's beautiful. And we have a particularly beautiful I keep saying, want to say lobelia. It's not lobelia. It's wisteria. Lobelia is the small, similar colouring, but tend to use a lot of lobelia in hanging baskets and things with the alyssum and lobelia. That's always pretty. I think that's probably springtime as well.
Dwayne said, did your mum do the painting behind you?
Mum did do that painting, yes. And last week, somebody mentioned the name of that artist. And I forgot the name of the artist now. Somebody mentioned the name of that artist and got it right. But I sort of poo-pooed them and said, no, it's not because... But it was. They were right. And then my friend, Martin, if you're watching at all, mate, at any point again, Martin, no, it's not an original. But it's... When my mother was training in painting, there are often when you're learning to paint, you have to do styles of different masters and things. So she particularly enjoyed Magdalena.
Yeah, fellow lunch ladies put it up there.
Modigliani, is it? I'm terrible with some of these. Yeah, Modigliani. I struggle with the names, but I do know that Modigliani was actually a famous Italian painter, and I think had a fairly tragic life. But it is. But these are actually just copies when done in oils that Mum would have used as references to learn different styles. And a lot of you that paint, whether you're painting in oils, acrylics, or watercolors or things, probably know that you're sometimes, as you're learning to paint, you'll copy artists. So it's a knockoff. It's a knockoff, but we still like it.
The Water Girl says, lol, Steve is a foodie wordsmith. That was before we were talking about painting.
That's before I lost my, wordsmith before. I'm far from a wordsmith.
Brenda says, hello, Steve and Michelle. Hello, Brenda.
I'll tell you, hey, Brenda. Is that Brenda Rigdon? Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, Brenda. I'll show you a picture. My mother won't thank me for this because she's very shy about her skills, but I'll show you a quick picture. Just a second. So that's what I prefer. That's some pencil work Mum did, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't think that's a particular art style, but she does some really nice pencil work. She doesn't do so much as she used to, but you can see she's very good, very detailed. Anyway, so any questions before we start to wind up, because we're into the hour?
Dwayne says, I heard there's an edible tree sap from trees in Australia.
There's quite a few edible tree saps. Do you know the name of it, Dwayne? I'm not sure. There's quite a few tree saps. I mean, maple syrup is an edible tree sap, as is most of the, if you have we used to tap our walnut trees in France and get the sap, the resin as it came out, and make walnut syrup. So there are quite a few.
Gloria Patry and Water Girl say, oh wow, awesome. Oh my God, that's awesome work.
Yeah, she's good. She won't thank me for saying so because she's a little bit
Brenda says, I'm amazed I found a live stream, me being in the USA and you back down under, and the time difference. Yes, Brenda, we're just doing these in our sort of midday-ish time, so we can get good lighting. We're up and about. We've had a bit of breakfast. We've had a coffee or so, and the day's good. And I know it's not good for some parts of the world, but hopefully you'll get to watch them later on. Anything else been going on, Michelle? There must be stuff. We're talking about, for those of you that just joined, there's a European series that I never published on Steve's Kitchen. I might have done one or two of them that were highlights, but I never published the whole series. So I'm going to edit that and put it up, and it just be lighter times for everybody. You can look back before the sort of all this stuff that's been going on and see Michelle and I touring for Europe. Many of you won't have seen it. I know that because I did put them on another channel at one time, and they were... it was a silly idea because we didn't really want to muddy the waters with the cooking stuff we were doing at the time, and they never got any views at all. So I'm gonna put that series up on here, so you'll be able to see some of the beautiful landscapes that we drove through in Europe, and maybe even some of the stuff that we were doing in Sicily when we were there, which inspired some of my Sicilian arancini, and there was a whole Sicilian series of cooking that I did in our beautiful little kitchen we had in Sicily for the months that we were there over Christmas a few years ago. So they will be going up over the next couple of weeks. There's probably about 20 episodes. I think they're well worth, they just weren't, at the time I forgot, and I stumbled across them the other day, and I said to Michelle, we really should put that series up. It seems we're not doing very much at the moment. I've got a lot to edit. I mean, I've got the whole John O'Groats to Land's End to edit for you. So it's not like there isn't content. And there's quite a lot of other good stuff. There's still some Japanese food tours that I haven't put up there, some Indian stuff that I haven't put up, and a few little surprises places that you didn't know that we went to that we probably kept a little stum. Dwayne says, where would you like to visit next?
Dwayne, we would still like to do our Camino de Santiago. We might cycle it, but we're still planning to do that. But I think this year, because we've only got, September now? October, November, December. We'll try and maybe do a little bit around Australia, because at the moment we're prisoners of Australia. We're not allowed to leave. Our government, even though our passports say we're welcome to come and go at our place, our government's decided to lock us in.
After they locked us out.
After they locked us out for 2 years, now they're locking us in. Hopefully not for 2 years. That's not going to happen. No. Otherwise, I'll swim across to Indonesia and, we'll be there. Come on, Michelle, get your back on.
Keep going,
okay.
Keep going.
hang on, what's that raft going the other way? Hello.
Yeah.
Bunch of people from Europe trying to get over to Australia, probably, maybe. So any last questions before we go? And if you're watching this later on, pop the questions down and maybe we'll do another live stream and talk about, go through those questions in another time. But I think have we answered everything that was thrown up?
Are you enjoying cooking again for your mum?
Yes, Brenda. I was just saying before to Michelle, I do probably 90% of the cooking. I'm really enjoying it. I love cooking. So it reminds me that I like to be in the kitchen, and we'll definitely be thinking about doing some series, but not just yet. Be patient.
Dwayne says, would you go to Indonesia or Malaysia?
We would, yeah, definitely.
Either or.
Either or. We go anywhere really, but we're enjoying being back in Australia for the moment. Australia.
Petri says, have a good day. Glad I caught you guys.
Thank you. But we're going to get off. Michelle, you're going to come and say, were there any questions we missed, Michelle?
I probably did, but sorry.
So we're gonna get off and let you guys enjoy your day. Michelle and I have enjoyed chatting with you again.
Might go out in the sunshine.
We're going. It's beautiful. We've got to go for a walk. Yeah. Get out, get some exercise, go for a little walk. So take care, all of you. Be good, and we will see you in the next stream. And look out for the European stuff coming very soon.
Bye.
Bye.